Good morning to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It's now Thursday, September 10th, 2020. And just like the graphic there shows, we have an awful lot to talk about. So let's just get right to it, shall we? Good to be back in my office after being out in Colorado for a couple of days, thanks to our crowdfunding partners allowing me to be able to head out and observe and report on the snow and the early season cold shot down parts of the Rockies. So made it back, and here we are. And this tweet right here from Jake really, I think, sets the tone here. You know, you'll see September 10th, as he says, referred to as the peak of the season, but that's not necessarily implying that things will gradually quiet down from here, and he is absolutely right. Right now, we have 7 different disturbances being watched, even though really 94L off the Carolina coast, as he says there, the window has been closed. But I mean, look, this is crazy. I mean, we thought it was going to be busy, but this is really something else that we see out in the tropics, and we can see it reflected here on the National Hurricane Center's tropical weather outlook. If we look at the 5-day graphical outlook, there they are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And, you know, to be fair, we can really X this out ourselves, and we can say that there's 6 areas to watch. Anything threatening land right now? Well, not really. I mean, this is just a moisture pocket coming into the Carolinas, so it'll bring some dreary weather from time to time today, but that's about it. This could be a sneaky little system. I'll show you this in a moment. I mean, anything now, basically, let's look at it this way. Any concentrated area of vorticity or energy over the Atlantic basin from here on out is probably going to have a chance to develop to some extent. And when we talk about vorticity, I'll show you what that looks like on satellite in a moment, especially if you're new to my videos, you'll see what I mean. That any impulse, any pre-existing impulse is suspect to developing at this point. And these ones that are in the yellows there that are closer to the United States, not as concerning because they are smaller pockets of energy. They have a shorter time to develop. And those are the good points. The bad news is they are already close to land, and they'll bring impacts if they developed, even if those impacts are just wind and rain, you know, and we're not going to make a big deal out of something that doesn't need to be made a big deal out of. But when you have these systems that are close to home like that, you know, the Bahamas, you know, South Florida, etc., you got to watch because they can blow up quickly, especially this time of year, and especially when the global models have done a poor job at initializing what we call tropical cyclogenesis, or the birth of these systems. They just haven't done as well as we have seen in the past. So let's look at these different features kind of one at a time here on the satellite. Wait, that's in a minute. First, this is to my point. Look how warm, and this doesn't show the warmth. Well, it kind of does. This is the upper ocean heat content. And I mean, it's just as primed as it could possibly be. All this very, very warm water that extends down deep into the ocean and extends all the way out here to the Cape Verde Islands, formerly the Cape Verde Islands. Now they want it to be called the Cabo Verde Islands. That's fine. I remember it as the Cape Verde Islands. Either one is probably correct. But this whole area through here, absolutely primed for development and sustaining very intense hurricanes. Even the Gulf of Mexico. Laura made landfall right over here, and the upper ocean heat content is still quite significant. Some of it got chiseled away on the right-hand side, the east of Laura's landfall point, and Marco cut across here as well. But make no mistake, plenty of energy in the upper ocean of the Atlantic Basin, the Caribbean, the Gulf, the North Atlantic, the tropical Atlantic, etc. Lots and lots of energy available for all of these systems to tap into. And it's just a matter of which one is able to kind of take over and make something of itself. And we can see on the satellite imagery, you know, here you go. Out in the tropical Atlantic, we have Paulette, which is struggling. Renee, kind of struggling. Large piece of energy here coming off the coast of Africa. May end up being 2 systems that come out of that. And then we've got just a plethora of moisture and energy sitting over in the southwest Atlantic. And any one of these systems, except for the one really, really close to the North Carolina coast up here, has a chance to develop to some extent over the next few days. And you can see this reflected also in the vorticity signature. So clearly, there's Paulette, there's Renee, and then coming off the coast of Africa over here is our next system. That would be presumably Sally. And then this little green area, you think, well, that's nothing. Well, it's not now. You know, it's nothing now. But that is the energy. That's sort of that's the beginnings of it. You know, that's just enough of a flame to get the fire started. And then another piece of energy sitting here in the eastern Gulf. There's 94L, tiny piece of energy there. And like I said, I mean, any one of these systems except for this has a chance. And I think this one here could scoot across and make its way into the Gulf and try to develop some over the next few days. The models are picking up on it. It's a small system. And those small systems there, and we'll go back to the satellite, these smallish systems, those are the ones that can go really quickly. And so impacts, yes, is going to go through the Bahamas, and so you're going to have rain and thunderstorms and gusty winds. Same will be true for South Florida. So any small craft, you know, you're out in your small boat, all the way down into the Keys, there will be impacts. So please keep it in mind. This weather feature is already bigger than you. And that's what I focus on, is the impact overall. I know everybody gets all worked up, and I guess rightfully so. Is it a tropical storm? Is it a depression? Or is it a hurricane? You know, it's like, well, that doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't. It's about the impact. You should be asking, what is this going to do or mean for me? And this system coming in towards the Bahamas in the next day or so will bring some impacts. Whether or not it becomes named, you know, if it's Sally or Dan or Bart, doesn't matter. It's going to bring impacts. There's a lot of people that live down here. I've been there. I've seen them. I know they exist. And so this will go through and then maybe get into the Gulf over here and have a chance to develop further. The Gulf temperatures are very warm. The upper ocean heat content is very significant. So we have to be ready. And, you know, even, quote, just a tropical storm can bring heavy rainfall and all kinds of other issues. So the pattern is definitely loaded. And even over in the eastern Pacific, now luckily these disturbances far enough away from Mexico that they should not pose a problem for Pacific Mexico over here. Didn't want to ignore our friends watching from the Pacific coast of Mexico. So this is just a great tool from the University of Wisconsin. And the total precipitable water, a couple things to note. You can see all the moisture over here in the western Atlantic, the southwest Atlantic. Not much rotation. There's just a slight hint right here. There's a little bit up here associated with 94L. Maybe a little bit over here. It's hard to see. But plenty of moisture. There's no dry air. Well, there is over the continent. But none of this dry air stuff. Not happening. Plenty of moisture. Then you see Paulette. And you see Renee. And then this huge envelope of energy here coming off Africa. And then there's more over interior Africa. These are coming off at lower and lower latitudes as the season progresses. The intertropical convergent zone, this area where the trades meet that stretches through Africa, goes around the globe. It's higher amplitude and higher in latitude in some areas than in others. But this shifts. It goes north throughout the early part of the season, then it comes back south later in the season. And so these tropical waves that were coming off up here, north of Dakar and Cabo Verde right there, they're going to start coming off closer to 10 degrees latitude, which is right there. And when that happens, and you see, there's Renee, there's Paulette, they came off farther to the north. This next one is going to get its act together, this time south of the Cabo Verdes, so around this way, and it's going to have a straight shot for the Caribbean. Almost certain of it. And the pattern is changing. We're going to lose this tropical upper tropospheric trough that's sitting up here and going to develop deep easterly flow across the tropical Atlantic, and this system is really going to need to be watched. And we can look at that, of course, coming up in the computer simulation known as the GFS. Now, before I get to that, NOAA and Sept, the National Centers for Environmental Prediction, apparently they're having issues running their stuff on some old Windows 95 machines or something. I mean, come on. It's 2020, and our computer systems and the government weather forecasts, are not working like they should. I understand there's glitches, but if you had a major website, and NOAA and the Sept stuff is a major website, portal, but can you imagine, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything goes down, Amazon, for a matter of hours, and it trends on Twitter. Facebook's down. Twitter's down. I mean, if my website were down, HurricaneTrack, if Tropical Tidbits was down, people would be all upset about it, and there would be, especially a major big league global powerhouse site, we would hear all about it. The Sept products, the 6Z GFS, I can't find it. It's just priorities, I guess. Priorities. The ECMWF will occasionally have problems, but I mean, we're talking about a couple of days now, and I just don't get it. At the peak of hurricane season, and the numerical modeling, it's not been performing the best anyway. Whatever. Maybe we need to crowdfund some new servers for the government. So this is the 0Z GFS, all right? And I went ahead and just did a GIF animation because Levi's site's running fine. Tropical Tidbits, which is crowdfunded. He's got the Patreon going too. Anyhow, what do we got? Well, what we're tracking here are these areas of vorticity, and this goes out the next 5 days. All right, so a couple of items of note. So here is Paulette. It's going north, and it makes that turn. Yeah, that's interesting. I tried to keep it right on the line there. So Bermuda is there. All right, so it comes in south and west of Bermuda by a pretty good margin. A huge, huge key to Paulette's future is how long it stays in this sort of weakened state that it's currently finding itself in. That if the track early on is more like this, then this bend is farther to the south. I'm just saying, and you look I'm trying to be real here, not paint something in that's not there. So we see that this trough energy up here fills in and leaves. And there's still a gap right there. There's still a gap at the end of that 5 days. But this is 5 days out, and this has been getting more and more west on each run. All it's going to take, and you can see it really develops it. It's struggling, and then bam, really comes to life. So it's going to create a lot of waves that are going to head towards the East Coast. We know that. Just don't be surprised if this gets even closer to the southeast coast. I mean, there's Bermuda, like I said. It's not like it's going right over Bermuda. That's a pretty good swing to the west. So we got to really watch Paulette, and if we can get the GFS running again. And then, also watch this little feature right here. Watch the origins of it. It comes through right there. Very small. Seems like it's not much, but there's definitely a reflection. This is the 850 millibar level of the atmosphere. So within the next few days, this little piece of energy out here over the Atlantic right now does come into the Gulf towards Louisiana, southeast part of Louisiana. So we got to watch that. You also notice with Renee, luckily this one's a goner, I'm pretty sure. But then you've got this big pocket of energy out here. A piece of it develops and heads towards the Caribbean. Another piece develops and moves off generally to the north. But look at what's happening to the pattern. At the same time, we're developing high pressure out over the Atlantic here. Renee trying to chisel into it a little bit, but this is pretty stout. And it's not allowing Renee to gain much latitude. It kind of blocks Renee. So that's going to send these two systems more to the west down here. The pattern's changing around. It's not going to stay the same. So all that tropical upper tropospheric trough, the tut that was out here, and the general lack of ridging, where the ridging was centered much further to the north up here, that's all changing, which, that's what it does. The weather changes. So we have got a lot to worry about. And I do say worry now because the Caribbean first could see the potential of an approaching hurricane within the next week or so. So the Lesser Antilles, I say worry. Worry, that's maybe implies that you don't really, that you have more fear controlling you. When you say worry about it, I need you to be paying attention. Worry about it in the sense that heightened awareness, okay? Not worry like, what am I going to do? You know what to do. You stay on top of it. And, if you're down in the Eastern Caribbean there, the Lesser Antilles, you're used to hurricanes. It doesn't make it any easier. But you need to be watching what'll eventually be a named storm. Unless the computer models are just completely out to lunch and they all miss it because they're all showing it. We're going to get development there, and it looks like it's going to head pretty far to the west. We also have to, of course, watch Paulette. So, assuming that the Sept servers and all that can get resolved, I will do another update sometime this evening, late afternoon or evening if I can, a video update. If not, I'll just wait till tomorrow and we'll see if they resolve this stuff overnight. Our patrons on Patreon, of course, we have our blog, our guest blogger and contributor Jack Sillen. He'll be posting about this. I can also post stuff on Patreon from time to time. It's a nice own little universe. So if you're interested in becoming a part of that crowdfunding, that's the patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. Not too late. The seasons, we're basically at the halftime. It's in one heck of a game, even though it's not a game. You know what I mean by that. I take this very seriously. But we're at halftime. If you want to look at it at that analogy, we're at the halftime of a very, very important game. Kind of like the Super Bowl, whatever. And in this instance, we have a long way to go. That the second half will probably be loaded with more hurricane activity than was the first half. It's just the natural progression of things. The dry air is getting mixed out more and more. The season is naturally more favorable, the overall background environment. And we're going to have higher ACE points now for those of you that are tracking that as a measurement, which that's fine. But at the end of the day, that ACE will also eventually lead to, I believe, impact at the same time. The ACE score, accumulated cyclone energy. Busy, busy times ahead. I just hope everybody's ready. We saw round 1 and 2, and maybe even can really round 3. 1, 2, and 3 have already come and gone with Hannah, Isaias, and Laura. Fortunately, Hannah, coming into a sparsely populated area as it did, spared any significant damage to the immediate landfall area, but look at all the flooding they had in the Rio Grande. I could go on and on. It's only halftime, all right? I'm trying to motivate you. Stay on top of it. We've got a lot going on in the world to distract us, and the tropics, I think, are going to start making headlines again within the next several days. All right? I'll stay on top of it. You can count on that. As always, thanks for tuning in and listening to me and checking out these videos. I appreciate Kari over in the UK for making these thumbnails for me, my title cards. Much appreciated. All right, I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll have more for you later on.